your continued viewership. Before we begin, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? We love knowing our global reach. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Foundation of Lies. Tyler Brennan had built his life on three pillars: his construction empire, his family, and his unwavering belief that loyalty was everything. At 42, he commanded respect in the industry with his reputation for delivering impossible projects on time and under budget. His calloused hands told the story of a man who'd climbed from operating bulldozers to owning the largest construction firm in the state. Amanda Brennan, 36, had been Tyler's college sweetheart. Back then, she was studying art therapy while he pursued engineering. She'd supported him through the lean years when he was building his business from nothing, working double shifts while pregnant with their daughter Emma. Now, 12 years into marriage, she ran a successful art gallery downtown, a dream Tyler had funded once his company took off. Their daughter Emma, 10 years old, was Tyler's everything. She had her father's determined spirit and her mother's artistic eye. Emma spent most afternoons at Tyler's construction sites, wearing a tiny hard hat and asking endless questions about the machinery. She was the bridge between her parents' different worlds. The Brennan household in the affluent Oakwood neighborhood seemed perfect from the outside. Tyler had personally designed and built their home, ensuring every detail reflected their journey together. The family photos lining the hallways showed years of happiness: camping trips, Emma's soccer games, anniversary dinners. But perfection, Tyler would soon learn, was often just an expertly crafted facade. Amanda had grown restless over the past year. The gallery had introduced her to a different crowd: artists, collectors, people who spoke of passion and spontaneity in ways that made her question her structured life. She began staying late for exhibitions and taking weekend trips for art acquisitions. Tyler, consumed with a massive downtown renovation project, trusted his wife completely. Emma noticed the changes first. Children always do. She saw the way her mother would smile at her phone when she thought no one was looking. She noticed the new perfume, the designer clothes that seemed inappropriate for art gallery work. Most importantly, she saw the way her mother's eyes had grown distant when she looked at Tyler. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening in October. Tyler was reviewing blueprints in his home office when Emma knocked on the door. "Daddy, can we talk?" Tyler looked up to see his daughter's troubled expression. She rarely looked this serious unless something was deeply wrong. "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" Emma fidgeted with her hands, a habit she'd inherited from her mother. "I think Mommy has a secret." Tyler set down his pen, giving Emma his full attention. "What kind of secret?" "The kind that makes her lie about where she goes." The words hit Tyler like a physical blow, but he kept his expression neutral. Emma was intuitive beyond her years, and Tyler had learned to take her observations seriously. "Tell me more." Emma explained what she'd noticed: the hushed phone calls, the unexplained absences, the way Amanda would quickly close her laptop when Emma entered the room. It was the behavior of someone living a double life. Tyler thanked Emma for trusting him with her concerns and sent her to bed, but sleep eluded him that night. He lay beside Amanda, studying her peaceful face in the moonlight, wondering if the woman he'd loved for 15 years was capable of such deception. The next morning, Tyler made a decision that would change everything. Instead of confronting Amanda directly, he chose to investigate. If his wife was having an affair, he would know everything before making his move. Tyler Brennan had built an empire by being thorough and strategic. He would approach this potential betrayal the same way. Little did he know that his 10-year-old daughter would soon become the key to unlocking a truth that would shatter their family forever. Chapter 2. The Disappearance. The call came at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Tyler was inspecting a foundation pour when his phone rang with Amanda's ringtone. "Tyler." Emma never came home from school. Amanda's voice was tight with panic. Her teacher said she left with the other kids at dismissal, but she's not here. Tyler's blood went cold. Emma always walked the 4 blocks home with her best friend Chloe, a routine they'd followed for 2 years without incident. "I'll be right there," Tyler said, already running toward his truck. The next 6 hours blurred together in a nightmare of phone calls and search parties. Tyler organized his construction crews to canvass the neighborhood, while Amanda contacted every parent and teacher they knew. The police arrived by evening, asking questions that felt like accusations. "Has Emma been upset about anything lately?" Officer Martinez asked. "Any changes at home?" Tyler and Amanda exchanged glances. Neither mentioned Emma's recent observations about her mother's behavior. The first night was the worst. Tyler barely slept, alternating between driving the neighborhood and manning the phones. Amanda sobbed intermittently, clutching one of Emma's favorite stuffed animals. Neighbors brought food and offered support, but nothing could fill the growing void of Emma's absence. By the third day, the police had expanded their search radius. Tyler hired private investigators and offered a $50,000 reward for information. His business partners took over his projects, understanding that nothing mattered more than finding his daughter. Amanda's behavior during the search struck Tyler as odd. While he was consumed with organizing search efforts, she seemed almost detached at times, spending long periods alone in Emma's room or taking unexplained walks around the neighborhood. When Tyler suggested they check Amanda's gallery for any clues, she quickly dismissed the idea. The media attention intensified by day 5. Tyler faced cameras with red-rimmed eyes, pleading for Emma's safe return. Amanda stood beside him, but Tyler noticed she avoided looking directly into the cameras. It was a small detail, but Tyler's investigative instincts were now finely tuned. Meanwhile, Tyler's private investigators were uncovering information about Amanda's recent activities. Credit card records showed purchases at expensive restaurants she'd never mentioned. Hotel charges on days she claimed to be at gallery events. Phone records revealed extensive communication with a number registered to someone named Rick Valdez. Tyler recognized the name from Amanda's gallery events, but had never met the man. According to the investigators, Valdez was a sculptor who'd been featured in several of Amanda's recent exhibitions. He was 34, divorced, and had a reputation as a charming manipulator who targeted wealthy, married women. On day 6, Tyler made a connection that chilled him to the bone. The investigators revealed that Valdez owned a cabin in the mountains, about 2 hours from town. The same area where the police had reported unconfirmed sightings of a young girl matching Emma's description. Tyler's mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. Had Emma discovered something about her mother's affair? Had she confronted Amanda, or even threatened to tell Tyler? The thought that Amanda might have. Tyler couldn't complete the thought. As the 7th day dawned, Tyler stood in his empty kitchen, drinking coffee and staring at Emma's artwork covering the refrigerator. One drawing showed their family as stick figures, all holding hands and smiling. At the bottom, Emma had written "the best family ever" in purple crayon. Tyler's hands trembled as he held the drawing. Whatever had happened to Emma, whoever was responsible, they would pay. Tyler Brennan didn't forgive betrayal, and he never forgot a debt owed. The sound of his doorbell ringing at 10:47 p.m. that night would mark the beginning of the end for everyone who had wronged him. Chapter 3. The Truth Revealed. Tyler rushed to the front door, his heart pounding with hope and dread. Through the peephole, he saw a small figure hunched on his porch. He threw open the door to find Emma, but she looked nothing like the confident girl who had disappeared a week ago. Emma's clothes were dirty and torn. Her hair was matted, and dark circles ringed her eyes. But it was her expression that stopped Tyler cold. She looked older, as if she'd aged years in just 7 days. "Emma." Tyler dropped to his knees, pulling his daughter into his arms. She felt smaller, more fragile than he remembered. "Daddy," Emma whispered, clinging to him. "Please, don't call Mom and Grandpa, just help me." Tyler's blood chilled at her words. "Why, sweetheart? What happened? Where have you been?" Emma pulled back slightly, her young eyes filled with a pain no child should carry. "I saw them, Daddy. I saw Mommy with the bad man." "What bad man?" "Emma, you're safe now. Just tell me what happened." Emma's voice was barely audible. "The man from the gallery. Rick. I follow Mommy after school on Tuesday because I wanted to prove she was lying to you. She went to his apartment instead of work." Tyler's heart hammered against his ribs. "Go on, baby. I hid outside and saw them through the window. They were kissing and touching each other. Then they saw me. Emma's voice broke. Rick got really angry. He said I was a little spy and that I could ruin everything. Mommy just cried and said she was sorry, but she didn't try to stop him. The words hit Tyler like physical blows. What did he do, Emma? He grabbed me and put me in his car. He drove me to a cabin in the mountains. He said if I ever told anyone what I saw, he would hurt you and make sure Mommy went to jail for being a bad mother. Tyler's vision blurred with rage, but he forced himself to stay calm for Emma's sake. How did you get away? He left this morning to get food. I broke a window and ran through the woods until I found a road. A nice truck driver brought me home, but I made him drop me off at the corner because I was scared Rick might be watching the house. Tyler gathered Emma closer, his mind racing. His 10-year-old daughter had been kidnapped and held for a week because she discovered her mother's affair. The betrayal ran deeper than he'd imagined. Emma, listen to me very carefully. You're safe now, and you did nothing wrong. But we need to call the police so they can arrest Rick. Emma shook her head frantically. No, Daddy. He said he has pictures of Mommy doing bad things. And if the police come, he'll show everyone and Mommy will go to jail and we'll lose our house and you'll hate us both. Tyler's jaw clenched. Valdez had manipulated and terrorized a child to protect his affair with Amanda. The man had crossed every line that mattered to Tyler. Where's Mommy now? Tyler asked. She's at Rick's apartment. She doesn't know I escaped yet. Tyler pulled out his phone with trembling hands. I need to call the police, Emma. Rick kidnapped you. That's a serious crime. As Tyler dialed 911, his mind was already working through the implications. Amanda's behavior during the search now made perfect sense. She'd known where Emma was, but couldn't reveal it without exposing her affair. She'd watched Tyler suffer for a week, knowing their daughter was being held captive by her lover. When the police arrived 20 minutes later, Tyler told them everything Emma had revealed. Officer Martinez took detailed notes while Emma gave her statement, her small voice growing stronger as she realized she was truly safe. We'll arrest Valdez immediately, Martinez assured Tyler, and we'll need to speak with your wife about her knowledge of the situation. Tyler nodded grimly. She's at Valdez's apartment. The address is in my wife's phone records, which your department should already have. As the police car pulled away to make the arrests, Tyler knelt beside Emma again. You were so brave, sweetheart. I'm proud of you for telling the truth. Emma looked up at him with eyes too old for her face. Are you going to divorce Mommy? The question pierced Tyler's heart. I don't know yet, baby. But whatever happens between your mother and me, you'll always be safe and loved. Emma nodded solemnly. I love you, Daddy. I'm sorry Mommy did bad things. That's not your fault, Tyler said firmly. None of this is your fault. But as Tyler tucked Emma into her own bed for the first time in a week, his thoughts turned dark. Amanda and Valdez had traumatized his daughter and stolen a week of his life. They would both pay for what they'd done, and Tyler would make sure the payment was far more than they could afford. Tyler Brennan had spent his entire life building things. Now, he would dedicate himself to tearing down the lives of those who had betrayed him. Chapter 4. Uncovering the Web. The arrests made the morning news. Rick Valdez was charged with kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and child endangerment. Amanda was released after questioning, her involvement deemed complicated by the district attorney. She returned home that evening, her face streaked with tears and shame. Tyler barely looked at her when she walked through the door. He was sitting at the kitchen table, Emma beside him working on homework, a deliberate tableau of normalcy that excluded Amanda entirely. Tyler, we need to talk, Amanda said, her voice hoarse. Not in front of Emma, Tyler replied without looking up. Go to your sister's. We'll talk tomorrow. Amanda started to protest, but something in Tyler's tone stopped her. She grabbed a suitcase and left without another word. After Emma went to bed, Tyler called his lawyer, Dennis Morrison, a sharp-eyed attorney who'd handled Tyler's business contract for years. I need a divorce attorney, Tyler said without preamble. The best one you know. What happened, Tyler? Tyler gave Dennis the short version. When he finished, Dennis whistled low. You need Rebecca Hamilton. She's ruthless and expensive, but she'll protect your interests. I'll set up a meeting for tomorrow. Tyler's next call was to his private investigator, Frank Rodriguez. I want everything on both of them. Financial records, phone logs, emails, social media, employment history, everything. And I want to know exactly how long this affair has been going on. Over the next 3 days, while Amanda stayed at her sister's house, Tyler began to understand the full scope of the betrayal. Frank's investigation revealed that Amanda and Valdez had been involved for 8 months. Credit card records showed expensive dinners, hotel rooms, and jewelry purchases Tyler had never seen Amanda wear. But the most damaging discovery came from Amanda's laptop, which Tyler legally seized since it was registered to his business for tax purposes. Hidden in encrypted folders were hundreds of photos and videos Amanda had taken of their home, Tyler's private office, and even their bedroom. She'd been documenting their wealth and lifestyle for Valdez. Frank also uncovered Valdez's pattern. The sculptor specifically targeted wealthy married women, documented their assets through secret recordings and photos, then used the evidence for financial leverage. Amanda wasn't his first victim. She was his fifth. Your wife was being played, Frank explained as they sat in Tyler's office. But she was also an active participant. Some of these photos show her going through your filing cabinets, photographing financial documents. Tyler stared at the evidence spread across his desk. Amanda hadn't just been unfaithful. She'd been gathering intelligence on his business empire. Whether she'd done it willingly or under Valdez's manipulation didn't matter. The betrayal was complete. Rebecca Hamilton, the divorce attorney, was a steel-eyed woman in her 50s who commanded respect from the moment she walked into Tyler's office. "I've reviewed the preliminary evidence," she said, opening her briefcase. "Your wife's actions go beyond infidelity. She violated your privacy, potentially compromised your business, and failed to report a kidnapping involving your child. We can destroy her in court." "I want full custody of Emma," Tyler said. "Amanda can have supervised visitation at most. Given the circumstances, that's achievable. The question is how aggressive you want to be regarding assets." Tyler's expression hardened. "I want everything. The house, the business, the investments. She can keep her clothes and her car." "What about the gallery?" Tyler had been thinking about this. Amanda's gallery was technically her business, but Tyler had provided the initial investment and served as guarantor on the lease. "I'm calling in the loan and withdrawing my guarantee. Let her figure out how to run it without my backing." Rebecca made notes. "We'll also need to address the criminal implications. If Amanda knew Valdez had kidnapped Emma and failed to report it, she could face charges herself." Tyler had already considered this angle. "I want her to sweat about that possibility, but I won't push for charges if she cooperates with the divorce." As Rebecca packed up her papers, she gave Tyler an appraising look. "Most men in your situation want revenge, but you seem unusually methodical about this." Tyler's smile was cold. "I learned a long time ago that the best revenge isn't quick, it's thorough." That evening, Tyler sat in Emma's room as she prepared for bed. She'd been quiet since her return, processing everything that had happened. "Daddy, are you angry at me for spying on Mommy?" Tyler turned from where he'd been adjusting her bookshelf. "No, sweetheart. You were trying to protect our family. That was brave. Will Mommy come home? Not to live with us, no. But she'll always be your mother, and you'll still see her." Emma nodded slowly. "Will the bad man go to jail?" "Yes. For a very long time." "Good," Emma said with a firmness that reminded Tyler of himself. People who hurt kids should go to jail. As Tyler tucked Emma in, he reflected on how much his daughter had grown up in just 2 weeks. She'd seen the worst of adult behavior, but had emerged with her moral compass intact. Tyler would make sure she never had to experience such betrayal again. Meanwhile, the wheels of Tyler's revenge were just beginning to turn. Chapter 5. The Setup. 2 weeks after Amanda's arrest, Tyler's plan began to take shape. He'd moved beyond anger into the cold, calculating mindset that had built his business empire. Every move was strategic, designed to achieve maximum impact. Tyler's first target was Valdez's upcoming trial. While the prosecutor was confident of conviction, Tyler wanted to ensure the sentence reflected the full scope of the crime. He hired a victim's advocate to work with Emma, not just for her emotional recovery, but to prepare the most compelling testimony possible. Frank Rodriguez had uncovered a crucial detail. Valdez had been using Amanda's gallery to launder money from his previous schemes. Three other married women had given him loans for artwork that never existed. The FBI was now investigating Valdez for wire fraud and racketeering in addition to the kidnapping charges. Tyler arranged a meeting with FBI agent Sarah Wells, who was leading the financial crimes investigation. "Mr. Brennan, we appreciate your cooperation," Agent Wells said as they sat in Tyler's office. "Your wife's documentation of your assets helped us understand Valdez's pattern, but we need her testimony to build the strongest case." Tyler had anticipated this moment. "Agent Wells, my wife is clearly a victim of Valdez's manipulation, but she also made choices that endanger my daughter. I want assurance that her cooperation will be noted in any potential charges against her. If she provides substantial assistance, we can recommend leniency." Tyler nodded. This was exactly what he'd hoped for. Amanda would have to choose between protecting herself and protecting what remained of her reputation. Meanwhile, Tyler was methodically dismantling Amanda's life. He'd called in the loan that funded her gallery, giving her 30 days to repay $200,000 she didn't have. He'd also withdrawn his personal guarantee on the gallery's lease, meaning Amanda was now personally liable for the remaining 18 months of rent. The art world was small and gossipy. Word of Amanda's affair and the kidnapping scandal spread quickly through her professional circles. 3 major artists pulled their work from her gallery, and 2 corporate clients canceled upcoming events. Tyler's business connections proved invaluable. He owned the buildings housing 2 of the city's most prominent galleries. A quiet word from Tyler, and both owners expressed concerns about Amanda's reputation issues potentially affecting their businesses. Amanda called Tyler repeatedly, begging for a meeting. Tyler finally agreed to see her at his office, neutral territory where she couldn't claim emotional manipulation. Amanda looked haggard when she arrived. Her usually perfect appearance was disheveled, and she lost weight during the stress of the past month. "Tyler, please," she began before even sitting down. "I know what I did was unforgivable, but I need you to understand." Tyler held up a hand. "I understand perfectly. You had an affair, endangered our daughter, and violated our marriage in every possible way. The only question now is how cooperative you're going to be." "What do you mean?" Tyler slid a folder across his desk. "FBI Agent Wells wants your testimony against Valdez. You're going to give it. You're also going to sign these divorce papers without contest." Amanda opened the folder and paled as she read. "Tyler, you're taking everything. The house, the investments, even my gallery funding. I'll have nothing. You should have thought of that before you let your lover kidnap our daughter. Emma wasn't supposed to be there." Rick panicked when he saw her. "I never wanted her involved." Tyler's voice turned deadly quiet. "But she was involved. For 7 days, my 10-year-old daughter was held captive by a man who threatened her family. For 7 days, I didn't know if she was alive or dead. And you knew where she was the entire time." Amanda's tears came freely now. "I was scared. Rick said if I told anyone, he'd release photos that would destroy both of us. I thought he'd let her go after a few days. Instead, you watched me organize search parties and offer rewards while our daughter was being terrorized by your boyfriend." Tyler's control was impressive given the rage burning inside him. "You made your choice, Amanda. Now you live with the consequences. What about Emma? She needs her mother. Emma will have supervised visitation twice a week. You'll pay child support based on your earning capacity, which should be interesting since you won't have a gallery much longer." Amanda's voice turned desperate. "Tyler, I know I made terrible mistakes, but I loved you. I loved our family. Rick manipulated me, made me think." "Stop." Tyler's word cut through her pleading. "Don't insult my intelligence with victim stories. You documented our private life for 8 months. You photographed financial records, security codes, private conversations. That wasn't manipulation. That was collaboration." Tyler stood, indicating the meeting was over. "You have 24 hours to decide. Cooperate with the FBI and sign the divorce papers, or face the consequences of not cooperating." "What consequences?" Tyler's smile was cold. "You really want to find out what happens when you refuse to help prosecute the man who kidnapped your daughter?" Amanda left his office in tears, but Tyler felt no sympathy. She'd burned their family to the ground for a relationship with a con artist. The fact that she'd been manipulated didn't excuse the choices she'd made. That evening, Tyler sat with Emma as she worked on a school project about family history. She was writing about Tyler's construction company and how he'd built it from nothing. "Daddy, my teacher says some families break apart, but the important people stay together," Emma said without looking up from her writing. "Are we going to stay together?" Tyler put his arm around his daughter. "We absolutely are. It's just going to be you and me now, kiddo." Emma smiled for the first time in weeks. "Good. I like it better this way." Tyler realized that his daughter had reached the same conclusion he had. Some betrayals were too deep to forgive, even within a family. Emma understood that her mother had chosen another man over her family's safety. At 10 years old, she was already developing the moral clarity that would protect her from future manipulation. Tyler's phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca Hamilton. Amanda's attorney called. "She's signing everything tomorrow morning." Tyler deleted the message and focused on Emma's project. Phase 1 of his plan was complete. Amanda was neutralized, Valdez would spend decades in prison, and Emma was safe. But Tyler wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. Chapter 6, Expanding the Net. Amanda signed the papers on a rainy Thursday morning. She sat across from Tyler and their attorneys, her hand shaking as she put her signature to documents that transferred most of her life to her former husband. "The FBI interview is scheduled for Monday," Rebecca Hamilton informed Amanda's attorney. "Your client's cooperation will be noted in our final settlement." As Amanda left the law office, Tyler felt a cold satisfaction. She'd lost her marriage, her home, her business, and her daughter's respect. But Tyler's revenge was far from complete. Frank Rodriguez had uncovered something interesting. Valdez's art studio was rented from a property management company owned by Amanda's brother, Kevin Mitchell. Kevin had known about the affair for months and had actually helped Valdez set up the kidnapping by providing a key to the studio where Amanda stored some of her gallery's inventory. Tyler's investigation revealed that Kevin had his own motivations. He'd been skimming money from the property management company's accounts and needed Valdez's scheme to succeed so he could cover the missing funds with a cut of whatever Valdez extorted from Tyler. "Family corruption runs deep," Frank observed as he presented Tyler with the evidence. "Kevin's been stealing from his own company for 2 years. He's desperate enough to do anything." Tyler studied the financial records spread across his desk. Kevin Mitchell owned 4 rental properties in the Arts District, including the building that housed Amanda's gallery. He also managed properties for 3 other owners, giving him access to significant cash flow. "What's Kevin's exposure if this comes out?" Tyler asked. "Embezzlement charges, definitely. Probably fraud and conspiracy related to the kidnapping. He's looking at serious prison time." Tyler made a decision that would destroy Amanda's extended family. "I want to buy Kevin's properties. All of them." Frank raised an eyebrow. "He's not going to want to sell." Tyler's smile was predatory. "He won't have a choice." Tyler's next move was brilliantly simple. He had Frank deliver an anonymous tip to the IRS about Kevin's property management company. Within a week, federal auditors were examining Kevin's books. The missing money was discovered immediately. Tyler then approached the owners whose properties Kevin managed. As a respected businessman, Tyler's concerns about Kevin's financial irregularities carried significant weight. All 3 owners terminated their contracts with Kevin within days. Without income from property management and facing federal investigation, Kevin was financially devastated. When Tyler's lawyer made an offer to purchase Kevin's properties at 60 cents on the dollar, Kevin was forced to accept. But Tyler wasn't finished with Kevin. Using his new ownership of the building that housed Amanda's gallery, Tyler evicted her for a breach of lease terms related to criminal activity. Amanda's art business, already struggling after losing Tyler's financial backing, was effectively finished. The ripple effects extended further. Amanda's sister, Lisa, had co-signed some of Kevin's business loans. When Kevin defaulted, Lisa's credit was destroyed. Her husband, a mid-level bank manager, faced professional consequences when his wife's financial problems came to light during his annual review. Tyler's systematic destruction of Amanda's family network was methodical and ruthless. Each member had either actively participated in the betrayal or enabled it through their silence. Emma watched some of these developments with the sharp awareness that Tyler was beginning to recognize as her defining characteristic. "Daddy, why is Uncle Kevin moving away?" she asked one evening as they worked on dinner together. "Uncle Kevin made some bad choices that hurt our family," Tyler explained. "Sometimes people have to face consequences for their actions." Emma nodded thoughtfully. Like mommy. Like mommy. I don't miss him," Emma said matter-of-factly. "He never liked me anyway. He always acted like I was a bother." Tyler realized that Emma had noticed Kevin's dismissive attitude toward her long before the kidnapping. Children were remarkably good at identifying people who didn't value them. Meanwhile, Valdez's trial was proceeding exactly as Tyler had hoped. Amanda's testimony was devastating, detailing how Valdez had manipulated her into documenting Tyler's assets and how he'd shown no remorse for traumatizing Emma. The prosecution presented evidence of Valdez's pattern of targeting wealthy married women, using Amanda's case as the most extreme example. The kidnapping charge elevated Valdez's crimes from con artist to predator. Tyler attended every day of the trial, sitting in the front row where Valdez could see him. He wanted the man to know that his victim's father was watching, waiting, ensuring justice was served. Emma testified via closed-circuit television, her composed recounting of her week in captivity moving several jurors to tears. Tyler was proud of his daughter's strength and clarity. She answered every question honestly, never dramatizing but never minimizing the fear she'd experienced. During cross-examination, Valdez's defense attorney tried to suggest that Emma had misunderstood what she'd seen at the apartment, that perhaps her mother and Valdez were just friends. Emma's response silenced the courtroom. "I know what kissing looks like. I know what people do when they take their clothes off together. And I know the difference between friends and people who are being bad together." The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Valdez was convicted on all counts: kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, child endangerment, wire fraud, and racketeering. The judge sentenced him to 35 years in federal prison. Tyler felt a grim satisfaction as Valdez was led away in shackles. But even 35 years didn't feel like enough payment for what the man had put Emma through. As Tyler and Emma left the courthouse, reporters shouted questions about the case. Tyler ignored them all except one. "Mr. Brennan, do you feel justice was served today?" Tyler stopped and looked directly into the camera. "My daughter is safe, and the man who hurt her will never hurt another child. That's what justice looks like." That evening, Tyler and Emma celebrated with ice cream and a movie. As they sat together on their couch, in their house, the one Amanda would never return to, Tyler reflected on how much they'd both grown through this ordeal. Emma was stronger, more self-reliant, and possessed a moral clarity that would serve her well in life. She'd learned that actions have consequences and that loyalty was earned, not assumed. Tyler had learned something different, that his capacity for methodical revenge was far greater than he'd ever imagined. And he wasn't finished using it yet. Chapter 7. The Final Players. 3 months after Valdez's conviction, Tyler discovered the last piece of the betrayal puzzle. Frank Rodriguez's continued investigation revealed that Amanda's affair hadn't happened in a vacuum. Someone had introduced her to Valdez, someone who knew about Tyler's wealth and business vulnerabilities. That someone was Dr. Patricia Hoffman, Amanda's therapist. Tyler's initial reaction was disbelief. Amanda had been seeing Dr. Hoffman for anxiety and depression related to their marriage. Tyler had even paid for the sessions, believing his wife was working to improve their relationship. Instead, Dr. Hoffman had been systematically undermining the marriage while feeding information about Tyler's business to Valdez. The therapist had a gambling addiction that left her vulnerable to Valdez's financial manipulation. She violated every ethical standard in her profession, Frank explained as they reviewed recorded phone calls between Dr. Hoffman and Valdez. She shared details about your marriage, your financial situation, even Amanda's psychological vulnerabilities. Tyler stared at the evidence with cold fury. Dr. Hoffman had weaponized her professional relationship with Amanda to destroy Tyler's family. She'd used her position of trust to facilitate the affair and, ultimately, Emma's kidnapping. "What's her exposure?" Tyler asked. Professional license revocation, certainly. Possible criminal charges for conspiracy and violation of patient confidentiality. Her malpractice insurance won't cover intentional criminal acts, so she's personally liable for any civil damages. Tyler made his decision immediately. I want her destroyed professionally and financially. Tyler's first move was strategic. Rather than filing complaints himself, he arranged for 3 of Dr. Hoffman's other patients to discover that their confidentiality had been violated. The state medical board investigation was swift and damning. Dr. Hoffman's professional license was suspended pending a full hearing. Her practice collapsed as patients fled and colleagues distanced themselves from the scandal. The medical community was small and unforgiving when it came to ethical violations. Tyler then filed a massive civil lawsuit against Dr. Hoffman for intentional infliction of emotional distress, breach of fiduciary duty, and conspiracy. The damages sought included Tyler's legal fees, Emma's ongoing therapy costs, and punitive damages for the trauma inflicted on his family. But Tyler's most devastating move was personal. Frank's investigation revealed that Dr. Hoffman had a teenage daughter, Rachel, who was a promising art student. The girl had applied for early admission to prestigious art schools, using a portfolio that included several pieces displayed in Amanda's gallery. Tyler purchased those pieces through a proxy buyer, then had them authenticated. The authentication revealed that 2 of the paintings Rachel claimed as her own work were actually created by a lesser-known artist whose pieces Amanda had acquired for the gallery. The plagiarism scandal destroyed Rachel's art school prospects and led to her suspension from high school. Dr. Hoffman, already facing financial ruin from the lawsuit and loss of her practice, watched her daughter's future crumble as well. Tyler felt no sympathy. Dr. Hoffman had used her position to target his family, ultimately contributing to Emma's kidnapping. Her daughter was experiencing a fraction of the trauma Emma had endured. Emma, now 11 and increasingly perceptive, noticed the pattern of Tyler's actions. "Daddy, you're hurting everyone who hurt us, aren't you?" she asked one evening as they reviewed her homework. Tyler considered his response carefully. "I'm making sure people face consequences for their choices. When adults hurt children, especially our family, they need to understand that actions matter." Emma nodded slowly. "Good. People should protect kids, not hurt them." Tyler realized that Emma was developing the same unforgiving moral code that drove him. She understood that some betrayals were too deep to overlook, that forgiveness without consequences was just enabling further harm. Amanda, meanwhile, was struggling to rebuild her life. Without the gallery, without Tyler's financial support, and with limited visitation rights to Emma, she'd moved to a small apartment across town and taken a job at a chain art supply store. During one of her supervised visits with Emma, Amanda tried to explain her actions. "I made terrible mistakes," Amanda told their daughter. "I hope someday you can forgive me." Emma's response was devastating in its simplicity. "Daddy says forgiveness is for people who are sorry and try to make things better. You're just sorry you got caught." Tyler, watching from across the room, felt proud of Emma's clarity. His daughter understood the difference between genuine remorse and self-pity. Amanda's face crumpled, but Emma continued with the brutal honesty of childhood. "You let the bad man take me because you cared more about keeping your boyfriend than keeping me safe. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." After Amanda left that day, Tyler knelt beside Emma. "That was hard to say to your mother, but it was true, wasn't it?" "Yes, it was true." Emma leaned against Tyler's shoulder. "I don't want to see her anymore. She makes me feel sad and angry." Tyler made a mental note to discuss modifying the visitation schedule with Rebecca. Emma was old enough to have her preferences considered by the court, and she'd clearly made her decision about her relationship with her mother. As Tyler tucked Emma into bed that night, she asked a question that showed how much she'd grown through their ordeal. "Daddy, when I'm older, how will I know if someone really loves me or if they're just pretending?" Tyler thought carefully before answering. Real love means putting the other person's safety and happiness before your own wants. People who really love you will protect you, even when it's hard or costs them something. Emma smiled. "Like how you protected me. Like how we protected each other," Tyler corrected. "You were brave enough to tell me the truth, even when it was scary. As Emma drifted off to sleep, Tyler reflected on the lessons they'd both learned. Trust had to be earned. Loyalty was precious because it was rare, and some betrayals were so fundamental that forgiveness became impossible. Tyler's war against those who had betrayed his family was nearly complete. But he had one final move to make, one that would ensure Emma's future security while sending a clear message about the price of crossing the Brennan family. Chapter 8: Total Victory. 1 year after Emma's kidnapping, Tyler stood in his office reviewing the final reports from Frank Rodriguez. Every person who had betrayed or endangered his family had been systematically destroyed. Valdez was serving his 35-year sentence in a federal penitentiary, where Tyler's connections had ensured he was housed with inmates who had strong feelings about people who hurt children. Amanda was working retail, living in a studio apartment, and had voluntarily terminated her parental rights after Emma refused to see her for 6 months. The court had agreed to Emma's wishes, and Amanda was now legally nothing more than a biological donor to Tyler's daughter. Kevin Mitchell had fled the state after his embezzlement conviction, leaving behind a destroyed credit rating and a reputation that would follow him anywhere in the construction or property management industry. Dr. Hoffman had lost her medical license permanently and was facing personal bankruptcy. Her daughter Rachel had been forced to repeat her senior year of high school and was working part-time to help pay the family's legal bills. But Tyler's most devastating victory was still to come. Frank's investigation had uncovered one final piece of the puzzle. The original introduction between Amanda and Valdez hadn't been accidental. It had been orchestrated by Amanda's college roommate, Monica Reeves, who worked as a coordinator for high-end art events. Monica had connected Amanda and Valdez deliberately, knowing about the sculptor's pattern of targeting wealthy married women. Monica received a finder's fee for each successful mark she delivered to Valdez's schemes. Tyler's discovery of Monica's role had taken months of investigation, tracing financial transfers and communication records. When he finally had the proof, Tyler's response was swift and total. Monica worked for an event planning company that frequently coordinated gallery openings and art auctions. Tyler owned the venues for 60% of the company's annual events. One conversation with the company's owner about Monica's reliability issues was enough to end her career in event planning. Tyler then used his influence with the city's Arts Council to ensure Monica was blacklisted from cultural events throughout the region. Her specialty was connecting artists with wealthy collectors, a role that became impossible when no venue would work with her. But Tyler's final move against Monica was personal. Frank's investigation revealed that Monica's teenage son had been accepted to a prestigious private school with a substantial scholarship. The scholarship was funded by a foundation that Tyler's company had donated to for years. Tyler made a single phone call. Monica's son lost his scholarship and was forced to transfer to public school. When Monica called Tyler directly to beg for reconsideration, Tyler's response was cold and final. "You delivered my wife to a predator who kidnapped my daughter. Your son's education is the least of what you'll lose if you ever cross my family again." Monica moved out of state within a month, taking her son to start over in a place where Tyler's influence couldn't reach. As Tyler reviewed the complete destruction of everyone who had wronged his family, he felt a satisfaction deeper than anything his business success had ever provided. These people had threatened the most important thing in his world, Emma's safety and well-being. Their punishment had been total and permanent. Emma, now 12, had grown into a confident, intelligent young woman who shared Tyler's uncompromising sense of justice. She excelled in school, played competitive soccer, and had developed an interest in business that pleased Tyler enormously. One evening, as they worked together on Emma's math homework, she looked up at Tyler with serious eyes. "Daddy, I know you did things to hurt the people who hurt us." Tyler set down his pen, giving Emma his full attention. "Yes, I did." "Good," Emma said simply. "They deserved it." Tyler studied his daughter's face, seeing the same moral clarity that had driven his own actions. "Why do you think they deserved it?" Emma's answer was thoughtful and precise. "Because they didn't just hurt us once. They made choices every day to keep hurting us. Mommy chose her boyfriend over my safety. The doctor lady chose money over helping people. Uncle Kevin chose stealing over being honest. They all had chances to do the right thing, but they didn't. Tyler nodded, proud of Emma's reasoning. And what do you think happens when people don't face consequences for hurting others? They keep hurting people, Emma replied without hesitation. Like bullies at school. If nobody stops them, they just get worse. Tyler realized that Emma had internalized the most important lesson of their ordeal. That evil succeeded when good people failed to respond with appropriate force. His daughter would never be a victim because she understood that some fights were worth winning at any cost. 6 months later, Tyler received news that brought their story full circle. Valdez had been killed in prison by an inmate whose own daughter had been kidnapped years earlier. Tyler felt no sadness at the news, only a sense that the universe had finally balanced its scales. Tyler told Emma about Valdez's death that evening over dinner. Her reaction was characteristically direct. "I'm glad he's dead," she said matter-of-factly. "Now he can never hurt another kid." Tyler agreed. Some people forfeited their right to exist in civilized society through their actions. Valdez had been one of them. As Tyler tucked Emma into bed that night, she asked a question that showed how completely she understood their journey. "Daddy, if someone ever tries to hurt our family again, will you stop them?" Tyler's answer was immediate and absolute. "Always. No matter what it costs, no matter how long it takes. I will always protect you." Emma smiled and closed her eyes, secure in the knowledge that her father was a man who kept his promises. Tyler sat in his home office later that evening, reviewing business reports and planning the next phase of his company's expansion. The house was quiet, peaceful, and completely his. Emma was safe, his business was thriving, and his enemies had been utterly defeated. Tyler Brennan had learned that he was capable of systematic, ruthless revenge when his family was threatened. More importantly, he learned that he felt no guilt about exercising that capability. Some men built businesses. Some men built fortunes. Tyler Brennan had built something more valuable, an unshakable fortress around the one person who mattered most to him. And he would defend that fortress against any threat, no matter where it came from or what it cost to eliminate it. Chapter 9. Legacy of Steel. 5 years had passed since Emma's kidnapping, and the Brennan family had emerged stronger than ever. Emma, now 17, was preparing for her senior year of high school with plans to study business and engineering at college. She had grown into a formidable young woman who combined Tyler's strategic thinking with a moral clarity that impressed everyone who met her. Tyler's business had expanded nationally, with construction projects in 12 states. His reputation for delivering complex projects on time and under budget had made him one of the most sought-after contractors in the country. More importantly, his reputation for protecting what was his had made him a man no one crossed lightly. The final chapter of Tyler's revenge had been written 3 years earlier when Amanda, struggling with alcoholism and depression, had attempted to reconnect with Emma through social media. Emma's response had been swift and final. She blocked her biological mother on all platforms and informed Tyler of the contact attempt. Tyler's response was equally decisive. Through his lawyers, he'd sent Amanda a cease and desist order that made clear any further attempt to contact Emma would result in harassment charges. Amanda had moved to another state and hadn't been heard from since. Emma's perspective on the situation was clear and unwavering. During a father-daughter conversation about college plans, she'd addressed the topic directly. "I know some people think I should forgive her," Emma said as they reviewed application materials. "But forgiveness doesn't mean I have to let someone back into my life who proved they can't be trusted." Tyler nodded approvingly. "What matters is that you're making decisions based on your own judgment, not other people's expectations." Emma's moral framework had been shaped by the crucible of betrayal and justice she'd experienced as a child. She understood that loyalty was earned through actions, not promised through words. She'd learned to evaluate people based on what they did when it mattered, not what they claimed they would do. At school, Emma was known for her leadership and her unwillingness to tolerate bullying or dishonesty. She'd inherited Tyler's protective instincts and applied them to defending classmates who couldn't defend themselves. Teachers respected her integrity, and her peers sought her guidance on difficult decisions. Tyler's proudest moment came during Emma's junior year when she discovered that a popular student was cheating on college admission tests. Despite pressure from classmates to stay silent, Emma had reported the cheating to school administrators. "Everyone says I'm being harsh," Emma had told Tyler that evening. "They say it could ruin his college chances." Tyler's response reinforced the lesson he'd been teaching since her kidnapping. His choices already ruined his college chances. You just made sure there were consequences. The cheating student was expelled and lost his scholarship opportunities. Emma faced social pressure for her decision, but she never wavered. She understood that integrity required difficult choices and that enabling dishonesty was itself a form of betrayal. Tyler's business philosophy had been similarly influenced by their shared experience. He was known for paying employees well and promoting based on merit, but he was equally known for his zero-tolerance approach to dishonesty or disloyalty. Employees who violated his trust were terminated immediately and blacklisted throughout the industry. This reputation had attracted the highest quality workers and contractors, people who valued the security of working for a man whose word was absolute. Tyler's projects were completed by teams that functioned with military precision because everyone understood the standards expected. Frank Rodriguez, now Tyler's head of security and investigations, had become a trusted family friend. His continued vigilance ensured that no threats to the Brennan family went undetected. The network of information and influence Tyler had built during his revenge campaign had evolved into a comprehensive security apparatus. "You've created something unique," Frank observed during one of their regular security briefings. "Most wealthy families worry about external threats. You've eliminated the possibility of internal betrayal." Tyler nodded. The lesson of Amanda's betrayal had been permanent. Trust was a luxury he could no longer afford with anyone except Emma. His inner circle was small, carefully vetted, and continuously monitored. Loyalty was rewarded handsomely, but disloyalty was punished swiftly and completely. Emma's college applications reflected her intention to follow Tyler's path into business, but with her own focus on sustainable construction and environmental engineering. She wanted to build on Tyler's legacy while addressing the challenges of her generation. "I want to prove that being ethical and profitable aren't mutually exclusive," Emma explained as they discussed her career goals. "You taught me that reputation is everything in business. I want to build a reputation for solving problems that matter." Tyler was proud of Emma's vision, but he also ensured she understood the realities of the business world. During their weekend construction site visits, he taught her to read people as carefully as she read blueprints. "Most people will try to use your success for their own benefit," Tyler explained as they watched crews pouring concrete for a new hospital. "The key is identifying who deserves trust and who deserves distance." Emma had absorbed these lessons completely. She evaluated new acquaintances with the same systematic approach Tyler used for business deals. She was friendly but cautious, generous but not naive, trusting but never foolish. As Emma's 18th birthday approached, Tyler reflected on the journey they'd shared since that terrible night when she'd appeared on their doorstep as a 10-year-old refugee from her mother's betrayal. The trauma that could have destroyed them had instead forged them into an unbreakable team. Tyler's final act of revenge against those who had wronged them came on Emma's birthday itself. He presented her with a comprehensive trust fund that would ensure her financial independence for life. But the trust had specific conditions that reflected their shared values. The fund would only support Emma's endeavors if they met strict ethical standards. Any involvement with dishonest business practices, any betrayal of family loyalty, any action that compromised her integrity would result in immediate forfeiture of the trust. "I'm not worried about you violating these conditions," Tyler explained as Emma reviewed the documents. "But I want future generations to understand what the Brennan name represents." Emma smiled as she signed the papers. "Honor, loyalty, and consequences for those who violate both." Exactly. That evening, as they celebrated Emma's birthday with a small gathering of their closest friends and associates, Tyler watched his daughter interact with their guests. She was gracious but observant, engaging but careful, warm but never vulnerable. Emma had learned to protect herself without becoming cynical, to trust carefully without becoming paranoid, to forgive appropriately without becoming weak. She embodied the lessons Tyler had tried to teach through his actions during their darkest period. As the evening wound down and their guests departed, Tyler and Emma sat together on their back porch, looking out over the city Tyler's company had helped build. "Do you ever regret how we handled everything?" Emma asked, her question showing the maturity that impressed Tyler constantly. Tyler considered his answer carefully. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that you had to experience betrayal so young. But I don't regret our response to it." Emma nodded. "I used to wonder if we were too harsh. But then I think about all the kids who might have been hurt if we'd let them get away with it. Sometimes being kind to bad people means being cruel to innocent people." Tyler felt a deep satisfaction hearing Emma articulate the moral framework that had guided his own actions. She understood that mercy without justice was merely weakness, that forgiveness without consequences was enablement of further harm. "What will you do if someone betrays you in the future?" Tyler asked. Emma's answer was immediate and certain. "Exactly what you taught me. Investigate thoroughly, respond systematically, and never give them a second chance to hurt me or anyone I care about." Tyler smiled. His daughter had learned the most important lesson he could teach, that strength was not about avoiding conflict, but about ensuring that conflicts ended with justice served and threats eliminated. As they prepared for bed, Emma hugged Tyler with a fierce affection that had sustained them both through their trials. "Thank you for showing me that fighting back isn't wrong when you're protecting what matters," she said. "I'll never let anyone hurt our family the way they did." Tyler held his daughter close, knowing that the Brennan legacy was secure. Emma would carry forward not just his business empire, but his uncompromising standards of loyalty and justice. Tyler Brennan had built more than a construction company. He'd built a fortress of principles that would protect the Brennan family for generations. And he'd raised a daughter who understood that some fortresses were worth defending at any cost. The price of betrayal had been paid in full, with interest, and the lesson would never be forgotten. In the end, Tyler had achieved something more valuable than wealth or success. He'd created an unshakable foundation of trust and loyalty that would endure long after he was gone. Emma would build her own empire on that foundation, and she would defend it with the same ruthless efficiency her father had taught her. The Brennan name would stand for honor, loyalty, and the absolute certainty that betrayal would be met with total destruction. It was a legacy worth building and a promise worth keeping forever. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.